So let's first start off by introducing Lauren Smith. Lauren is a former senior travel executive and the founder of an e-commerce shop called sustainabletravelandliving.com, which offers over 400 low waste, non-toxic, recycled, and other carefully vetted eco-friendly products for everyday use during your travel journeys. So aside from having earned a GSTC Sustainable Travel and Sustainability Practitioner certificate, she's also, as a result of this effort, merged her passions for travel and sustainability to create the shop and to inspire people to make those broader lifestyle changes. So welcome, Lauren. I also want to introduce Katrina Oprisco. Please correct me if I've mispronounced that, Katrina, who owns Earthwell Refill, which is a wonderful family-owned company here, a small business in San Diego, focused primarily on environmental sustainability, which was recently recognized by the San Diego Union Tribune as the best eco-friendly store in San Diego. So congratulations for the award. And that the focus really is ensuring that the products themselves are obviously helping and reducing plastic in our ocean and encouraging consumers to use their own containers when they need toiletries and other household goods. And also, I think an important kind of tidbit to share with the group here is that Katrina participated in the Scripps Ray Ocean Plastic Pollution Challenge, which was a 6-month accelerator program focused on identifying evidence-based approaches to curb the flow of plastic in the ocean, as well as marine conservation and marine cultural preservation in areas along the California coast. So wonderful to have you, Katrina, with us as well. So we're going to go ahead and kick off the discussion, and hopefully we'll have some time for some question and answers once we finish the panelist discussion. So for those of you who have joined us, and again, welcome to all of you who've joined us for today's event, please feel free to pop those questions into the chat, which you should see on the side panel of Zoom. So we're really excited to ensure that you will have a chance to kind of chime in and ask our panelists some wonderful questions. So why don't we start with my favorite part, which is getting to know you all. So some rapid fire questions to help break the ice. Lauren and Katrina will kind of just go back and forth between the two of you. So starting with Katrina, what's your favorite travel spot?
I have to say, in Europe, I love to go to Prague. I really am in love with that whole entire city. And I was thinking, oh, is there something topical I could say? But no, I just really love Prague.
Well, Prague is still on my list, so you just like whet my appetite again to head there as soon as conditions allow. What about you, Lauren?
Well, I have a very soft spot for London. I worked abroad for about 6 months on a work assignment, so I got to really know and love London. But otherwise, my other favorite spot is Tokyo. It's just one of the most kind of, full on the senses, wonderful places in the world. And if anyone ever gets to go have some of the food and hit the tiny bar street, which is struggling economically right now with COVID, but there's nothing like it in the world. You just walk down these like little windy side streets and into these old bars that have been around for so many decades that are just the size of your kitchen counter, and you get to know all the local people who are very welcoming. So that's one of my favorite spots and memories.
That's wonderful. London, Tokyo, absolutely. Okay, next question. Obviously, your company's notwithstanding, what's your favorite sustainable travel brand, Lauren?
So if we're talking gear, one of my favorite gear vendors that we partner with is called Solgaard, Solgaard, and they're making suitcases and pulling out ocean plastic. So Katrina might appreciate that, but for every suitcase sold or bag, they're pulling out 5 pounds of plastic from the ocean. And then additionally, they're trying to integrate that into their backpacks and into their solar-powered solar banks and into the lining of their suitcase to actually use those. So that's kind of one on the gear side. And then on the booking side, I love Kind Traveler. They have specifically vetted kind of sustainable and eco-friendly properties, and they help you book those directly. So I just think they're an amazing resource for travelers.
Phenomenal, phenomenal. Great tips. And then what about you, Katrina? Favorite sustainable travel brand?
I don't know if it's a travel brand per se, but I do like the Soho cups as far as a travel a piece of part of your luggage. You know, you can throw it into your gear and you get pop it out and you have a cup. And then you can then collapse it in and you don't have to throw it away in the trash. So I think that would be what I would say as far as something definitely that would help you to travel without any plastic.
Phenomenal, phenomenal. And obviously, given today's topic, you know, sort of like the questions we're asking around, you know, sort of how to be plastic free for July, what's your best travel tip to our audience? So Katrina, to you.
I would say the best travel tip without any plastic is to plan. Plan before you start packing your suitcase. Plan for as much as you can to make your experience simple. That is, bring with you some laundry strips so you can make sure you have something to clean your clothes with while you're traveling. Or make sure you've packed all your toiletries and enough so you don't run out. You know, we were in Mexico City and I forgot to bring some toothpaste. So I have tons of toothpaste at my shop. I have tons of toothpaste in my house, but I had to go and get, you know, a Crest toothpaste that said it was all natural. And I thought, oh, Crest is turning to the all natural brand. But alas, it was not. But if I had planned well, I would have had everything I needed. And so that's what my tip would be: plan.
Try to plan, exactly. And then Lauren, what are your thoughts on the most important best travel tip?
Well, I definitely second the planning piece. That's paramount. But then when you're packing, just to expand on what she said, and this is kind of what we've started in the shop entirely, but to bring your own zero waste items. So I love that Katrina mentioned the Stojo, which is the collapsible coffee cup. We actually sell, it's called the Zero to Go kit. So we've got one of those collapsible coffee cups that folds down to here. I travel with a roll-up water bottle that'll fit in your hand, with bamboo silverware that has no problem getting through TSA, and then just some cotton napkins. It's called our Zero to Go kit. So just to pack your own so you can avoid that single use. And I love what Katrina was saying about bringing your own toiletries. We also love to look liquid free for travelers. So we've got some great shampoo bars, but there's just massive amounts of waste in those tiny travel size packets and packages. So whatever you can do to pack your own and just kind of say no, as tempting as those are to use or bring home and collect, as I used to do many moons ago, I'll admit. Yeah, so just to pack your own and just avoid those extra pieces of plastic everywhere you go, from the restaurant to the shower, wherever you possibly can.
Agreed. No, those are great tips. Great tips. So let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about why sustainable travel is important to you. And I think some of this will help kind of frame the discussion for some of our later questions with the community around, you know, the importance of thinking through your travel planning, obviously, before you head out. So let's flip over to Katrina. Why is sustainable travel important to you specifically, and why should it be important to the broader community?
I can only think about that saying that says, leave only your footprints. So when you go to someone else's country, you don't want to trash it. Sustainable travel is also economical. You're not running out to buy something. You're not, you're maintaining your own pack. So sustainable travel is just like sustainable living. You want to carry on that same ethos that you have while you're how you live day to day. You don't want to use more than what you need. So waste not, want not is really what I have more to say as far as that's why sustainable travel is very important.
Phenomenal. Couldn't agree more. Lauren, what are your thoughts on why it's important to you and why it should be important to the broader community?
Yeah, sure. This is such an important one, especially this is my passion, having come from the travel industry for a long time, but I'm a statistics nerd, so I'm going to throw a couple numbers at everybody. But pre-COVID, there were 1.4 billion trips happening a year. I mean, just imagine the impact and the footprint that we're all leaving. And one of my favorite quotes is from the Zero Waste Chef. We don't need a million of us doing zero waste perfectly. We just need a million of us doing it imperfectly and just taking those steps. So you can just imagine that the footprint we're making between our flight choices, what we carry, the trash that we leave behind. But more than that, in the travel industry, I mean, 1 in 10 jobs worldwide come from the travel industry. So our tourism business supports those local communities. And sustainability isn't just about, physical waste. It's about, it's about people, it's about planet, it's about profitability. All of those three things combined. So this is where travel in particular is so crucial, just to supporting those people, those artisans around the world that we come to visit in those places, just to sustain and support those things. And even just, shopping local is one small thing. I think I read a statistic that sometimes as little as $5 out of $100 spent actually stays in the local economy. So this is where, again, it just really highlights how impactful our choices as this huge volume of worldwide travelers can make on the world around us and all those other people.
So it sounds like we should all plan to go on our next trip with an empty suitcase, not only for reducing carbon emissions, but also to buy stuff when we get there. So
100%.
I like that plan. I'm going to do that next. So let's talk a little bit about plastic, right? This is one of my pet peeves, and I know for my co-leads and probably for all of you, it's the same. I can't stand seeing plastic waste everywhere, or even being stuck in a position where I have to take a plastic cup. I would almost rather just not drink. So why were you inspired to start your company and kind of build this brand? And it would be great if you could walk us through your offering. So maybe Katrina, we'll start with you first.
Well, I have to say it all started when I had my first child. You start to reassess. As a young mother, I started to reassess everything that I was using to see if it was wasteful or not. And when I was just thinking, when Lauren was talking about our trips to the beach and how I had to carry like all the 3 bags with a toddler, and I started thinking, oh my gosh, do I really need all of this? Really, all I really need is a blanket and perhaps some toys, and of course, some water. But really, didn't need anything else I was taking with us, because we were only there for 2 hours. And so I started thinking, I became more of a minimalist. So I think because I became more of a minimalist, I started thinking about how I could reduce my plastic intake. We've always recycled. We've always lived, like I said, very, very low waste as it was. And so that just transferred into us thinking about starting a zero waste store. I won't say zero waste, I'll say low waste store, because it's very difficult to be zero waste. And so it's just it was just a great progression of who we are and how we've raised our kids. And so that's why we decided to start a refill shop, because just to reduce the waste.
And it's also sort of setting up, the next generation for some of these best practices as well, so that it ultimately becomes a lifestyle and a mentality, and it's less about trying to convert people to best practices. It's like, it's the way that they've always been living because you've taught them that way. So that's wonderful, Katrina. Lauren, if you can take us through your journey, how you started your brand.
Yeah, sure. So as said, I was head of marketing for some international global travel brands for a long time. And then I got into this personal journey of sustainability. And the more, I'm sure as many people here can relate, the more I read and researched, the more I thought, oh my gosh, this is important and we're missing the boat here. So that's again where I kind of merged my passions for travel and sustainability. We made it a travel shop just because I think, travel is a place where you buy stuff and you can make such a big impact. But really the point is to get you to make better lifestyle choices. And when we were kind of figuring out how to vet gear, we have 8 product attributes that kind of summarize how we deem something as sustainable. So, I even talked to product design engineers from some major colleges, but one thing even I personally was surprised to learn about plastic was that each piece of plastic, so we're only recycling less than 10% to begin with at best, as it is. Many of our cities can't handle the recycling of plastic or other materials since China stopped taking a lot of our plastic. So we might think things are getting recycled, but the hard truth is they're actually not in many, many cases. But even when recycled, the same piece of plastic breaks down in quality immediately. So you could only recycle a virgin piece of plastic maybe 1, 2, maximum 3 times before it has to get remixed with new plastic. I didn't realize that. That's not true for metals, many metals, I won't generalize, but like aluminums or glass, those pieces of materials can be recycled in perpetuity. So it's just one more reason. There's so many trade-offs. It's hard. You could talk sustainability all day. You might argue that metals have a higher carbon footprint for transport or being mined in somewhere like South America and coming up. But our choice was really to prioritize not using plastic just for those reasons. We're still creating it at astronomical rates. And then, the other alarming stat is we're each ingesting a credit card's worth of microplastic a week. I mean, that's a frightening statistic when you talk about thinking about your kids. We don't know how to deal with that in our water and our fish and our streams and whatnot. So that's why we prioritize actually kind of I consider it a plastic crisis worldwide into our purchasing decisions. So again, it's things like the shampoo bars or toothpaste tabs or things that, we pay for water and plastic packaging in half of our personal care products. So it just kind of doesn't even make sense when you think about it. So that's why we're trying to stock as many of these things or deodorants and lip glosses and cardboards that we can. And then otherwise, we have created all this plastic. So we also say, okay, well, what are we going to do with it, especially with our recycling system struggling the way we are? So we source a lot of made from recycled. These things aren't perfect either. They can leave microplastics in your washing machine and all sorts of things. But we do have made from recycled water bottle, towels, sunglasses, backpacks, because we do think it's important to create that consumer demand to kind of reuse some of these materials that are just going to landfill and otherwise just piling up on us. So at any rate, that's a little bit of a background about why we started the shop and why we just our stance against plastic, we'll say, probably more than you wanted to know.
Oh no, definitely. I love the emphasis on hating the plastic because I truly believe, and I think we can all agree that we're essentially setting ourselves up for calamity if this continues at this rate. And so, since kind of drawing off what you just said, and talking about the consumer landscape and sort of how consumer sentiment around plastic usage has shifted, have you seen any kind of major trends since you first launched, and especially now, given the pandemic, have you seen things slow, increase? Sort of what does the landscape look like today? Katrina, to you and for that question first.
Well, to be honest with you, the pandemic, I believe, has awakened, I don't want to use the cliche terms anymore, but awakened everyone's idea about the environment. We have continued to grow our customer base through this pandemic because people wanted to figure out how they could help the earth. They saw the pandemic as not only as something that is a symptom to what we're already dealing with the pollution, with the natural disasters. I believe our customers saw the pandemic as, oh my goodness, we really got to do what we can to help our environment. Let's try and keep as much out of the landfill as possible. I've spoken to a couple of people that are in the packaging business, and they say that they're noting also that their clients are more receptive to alternative packaging because people are saying we no longer want all that packaging from Amazon. I don't know if it might be just a natural progression of how people were feeling about all this packaging coming in, but I feel that since everyone was at their house and they were ordering so much, I guess, from Amazon and from DoorDash and all these other businesses that deliver to the house, that they just were just inundated with waste with plastic waste. And so the consumer now is really leading the change for, the manufacturers, the larger manufacturers, to reduce their packaging, to reduce their plastic. And so I think that's a good thing. And if there could be any kind of silver lining to the pandemic, that is something that's good, that people are starting to, more people, not just the people who are from the colleges, or not just the young moms, not just the older people who have always been gardeners, but it's starting to become more mainstream.
No, that's brilliant. So that's actually a great sign that hopefully this trend continues, where people start to see the importance of their footprint, especially because we were all kind of cooped up and had no choice in some respect, but to have things ordered. I'm particularly interested in seeing how things evolve in terms of mushroom packaging, because I hear that that's like one of the kind of next leaps in terms of plastic alternatives. But Lauren, over to you in terms of what you've seen in trends and consumer sentiment around plastic usage.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that, and I agree with what Katrina's saying. I think it's maybe a little bit of a slow trickle from what I experienced. There's people who are really already aware and starting to be passionate about it. I think with the current administration, it's certainly going to put some more global attention on it and bring to light why we should all care. But it's tough otherwise to get people to trade the convenience factor of Amazon and carry out and just picking up a plastic water bottle. Oh, it doesn't matter. Going to Starbucks every single day for a plastic lined cup that can't be recycled. So I just think it's those education efforts that have to begin at our local and municipal levels to get people to understand why they should care. I love that Katrina brought up being a parent, because I think that's the number one motivating factor for people. What are they leaving for their kids? Why should we care? When we don't see it, we don't necessarily feel the problem of kind of all that pollution piling up. So I think definitely, people are starting, once we can pique someone's interest, they'll start to try other things. But it can be tough to get people across the line and over to convenience, I'll say.
Definitely. And so now shifting gears a bit, talking a little bit about that fear or that sort of block that many travelers have to take that first step to become a little bit more sustainable. I mean, even speaking from my own personal experience, traveling for the first time internationally with 2 kids, I was just like, I don't even know where to begin. How am I not going to need water bottles and all this kind of stuff when we're doing all the touristy things? So what would you say is one way in which our travel community could really just take that first step so it seems a little less daunting? Maybe Lauren, you can start us off.
Yeah, I'll go back to, our zero to go, zero waste kit. So it's just bringing your own things. And even in COVID, we said don't touch, nobody wants to touch anything, pack your own silverware. And we've also got wallet-sized paper soaps. You can just wash it in the sink, and we've got plenty of water bottles with filtration if you needed them. So just kind of thinking ahead to what you can pack. But again, some of those items for travel in particular, you might not think about, like a shampoo bar. It's liquid free, so I can pack twice the toiletries and still get through TSA pre-check. So just understanding too, some of these pieces can be a lot more convenient for you, and they're kind of helpful to the footprint that you're leaving behind. Another kind of easy one I've learned just with flying, there's a lot of kind of flight shaming in Europe, but half of the emissions are from takeoff and landing. So try to book a direct flight. Like we're all going to have to fly somewhere. We all want to fly to our destination, but if you can you book a direct flight, and then otherwise try to grab a train or, other local like tuk-tuk or that supports the local economy. So that's kind of one easy one too. People can kind of think about getting there and back.
Totally. And I can relate to the TSA things. I can't tell you how many times I would buy a water bottle, this is back in the day, and then end up having to throw it in the trash, and I'd never even opened the bottle. So nothing worse than, contributing to plastic consumption in that regard. Katrina, what about you in terms of, sort of a tip on how someone can get started when it seems really, really challenging?
I would say start slow. Pick one item that you think it will be really easy for you to carry with yourself, carry. Because if you try to make everything plastic free, you're going to become very worry, and you're going to become depressed, and it's not going to be fun because you're not going to enjoy yourself because you're trying to be plastic free while you're, caught up in trying to get coffee in Vienna. It's um, just take one step at a time would be my tip. And I guess my also plug would be to go off the beaten path and, be part of the local community a little bit more than maybe staying at the resorts, because the resorts are going to be curtailing to the convenience, and they are going to be uh, engaging and giving you the plastic water, giving you the water in the plastic bottles. And so I may be talking a little bit too much. Please let me know if I'm rambling.
No,
But
please.
I'm trying my best not to. But yeah, that would be definitely my tip. Would be just to take one item at a time. Bring a bamboo toothbrush with you if it's the first time you're doing it. And those silicone containers that you can get at Target, they're like 3 ounces or less.
Mhm.
They're easily to refill. So then another easy thing is just like if you have shampoo, liquid shampoo in your shower, just take a little bit with you and put it into that container and take it with you. Wow.
And that's a simple
So
way
that
to
was my-
avoid, picking up all of those free travel size things that might come with the hotel. So
That
good.
in your medicine cabinet.
Exactly, that you never end up using. No, so great tips. So I just want to remind our audience to please make sure to submit any questions you have. We have one last question we want to ask our panelists, and then we're going to open it up for our Q&A session. So please feel free to ping that into the chat. So last question to both of you. Again, huge focus obviously on sustainability and plastic, but how have you personally incorporated plastic reduction or elimination into your journeys, whether that's locally, if you're just kind of taking a little road trip, or if you're doing something quite extensive like an international trip? So how have you kind of managed that process? So Lauren, maybe we could start with you.
Yeah, I know I'm kind of repeating myself a little bit, but it really is carrying my own little kit. So I don't take Starbucks cups. I'm not saying never ever, right? As Katrina said, we have to pick some things and not shame ourselves when we don't. But using those reusable, the silverware set, the coffee cup, the water bottle, and just trying to be as diligent about that as I can. And then otherwise, it really is a huge change in my personal care routine, probably my bathroom and my kitchen. So just where can I use a dish block soap instead of a soap in a big plastic bottle. I wish Katrina lived near me because I don't have a great refill shop option. I think that's an amazing concept, and it should be changing our future. So I applaud you for what you're doing. So just take those bottles that you already have and refill them. I do it where I can, or sometimes try to make my own, but I run out of time in the day to do such a thing. So yeah, otherwise avoiding that unnecessary packaging in my personal care products and my kitchen products, in reusable bags. And I use bees wrap instead of saran wrap. That's kind of reusable, it's meldable, and then it biodegrades at the end of life. I use, we have Swedish dishcloths that, again, instead of a sponge, I can use them a few times, throw them in my washing machine, and then when they're kind of too worn out into life, they're more biodegradable options. So I'm just trying to kind of make those simple swaps in my handbag, in my bathroom, and in my kitchen at home outside of travel.
Phenomenal tips. And what about you, Katrina, in terms of the way you've incorporated this as part of your travel lifestyle?
Well, I have to be honest, since COVID and the whole entire starting the shop, I've only been able to travel to Mexico City for the weekend. And I haven't really gone anywhere else. But one thing I did, since we did used to travel so much beforehand, I just was able to pack a tiny suitcase. So I didn't end up bringing so much back with me. I had multiple items that I could use for several different things. again, so I had a very tiny, as Lauren said, tiny pack. And that's also helped me when I'm out in San Diego. I have one big, huge purse that puts everything in it, and that I carry everything in, and that's my business purse. And then if I can't fit it in there, I don't even try to carry it. But it's basically as minimal and as streamlined as I can get, and that's helped me to make sure I don't contribute to any kind of plastic waste or buy anything. And I do beforehand, before COVID, you could go to Starbucks and have a cup of coffee like you do in Europe. You just sit in a cafe with a porcelain cup, and that was something that is something that I definitely enjoyed before COVID, and I'm hoping that, knocking on wood, that they get back to that again, because that definitely made the cafe experience a little bit better for me. So I also try to find those cafe experiences. So I do visit local coffee shops that do still give you a coffee in a porcelain mug. So again, I do apologize if I'm rambling, but those are things that I do. Oh, I think our host is stuck.
Moderator's frozen. Uh-oh.
Oh my goodness. I hope everyone can hear me. Sorry, I got lost, but I was actually going to say, Katrina, maybe going back to what you'd mentioned about loving Europe, maybe that's what the connection is that it's slowing down a bit, taking some time, because in our culture, we tend to move at lightning speed. And so sometimes just taking a little pause and enjoying the little things is one way you can contribute to plastic reduction. So like you said, instead of a cup, sit down and have a mug. So wonderful. I want to thank both of you for this panel. Super informative, even for me, I'm sure for my co-leads and the audience. And so now we're going to kick it over to Ali, who's going to take us then through the Q&A session. Ali, over to you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Lauren and Katrina. I definitely learned a lot about ways I can contribute and reduce my plastic use. So I appreciate all the tips. It doesn't look like we have too many questions. We have, what are your favorite solid substitutes? Shampoo, sunscreen?
I can tell you what we're selling at the store that works really well. It's a sunscreen. It's SPF 25. It's a stick in one of those craft board boxes. It's from Silver Fall Sustainability Company. That is a great travel, something to carry along with you, whether you're traveling internationally or if you're going to the playground with the kids. You can apply it very easily. It is a physical barrier, a mineral sunscreen. So that works out really well. Of course, again, Silver Falls Sustainability has really good shampoo bars. And one thing with shampoo bars, this is a tip. I don't know if a lot of people tell you this, but if you have fine hair with shampoo bars, please realize that there will be excessive oils with your shampoo bar because they kind of tend to make one fits all. So if you do find that when you're using the shampoo bar and you have excessive oils, apple cider vinegar, a rinse with apple cider vinegar will get that excessive oil out of there. So it's apple cider vinegar plus water, 2 parts apple cider vinegar, 2 parts water, 1 part apple cider vinegar. That will make those shampoo bars much more enjoyable, much more effective. And again, you won't waste it because you'll be happy with what you use, as opposed to saying, this doesn't work, and then throw it away. So I'm sorry. And Lauren, maybe
that's a good insider tip.
Yeah.
I love for shampoo bars. We carry a line called High Bar, which I do love because I do have very fine hair, and they've got a fine hair shampoo bar that I use every day. So you can seek out some of the brands, but actually I'm going to use that apple cider vinegar recipe. I love that. I've heard about that and not tried it. So thank you for that. So yeah, we like the shampoo bars, definitely. The toothpaste tabs are another one. We carry a brand called Unpaste. There's another great brand called Bites. That's new, BITES. They're kind of a new one coming out in a cute kind of refill refillable glass jar. So we like their toothpaste tabs. In my purse, I carry a solid lotion stick. So especially in the winter or with travel, when your hands get dry, this just comes in a cardboard push-up tube. Or we have other companies that have a lotion bar in a reusable or recyclable tin piece that we use. So we like some of those kind of solid pieces as well. I love the sunscreen stick, so that's another really great one. So those are probably some of the low-hanging personal care, liquid-free substitutes.
Awesome.
I want
Thank
to
you.
ask you about the lotion bar. I'm sorry. I want to ask you about the lotion bar. Would you take that to like a hot area because it might melt?
That's a good question. I've tested one of the brands that we like is called Love It Sundries. It's just kind of a handcrafted brand out of, I think, Pittsburgh. Theirs bar has held up pretty well, and it might make the tin just a tiny bit greasy, but I don't mind. I mean, it's just a little bit of a lotion stick, but that's an excellent one to test before you take it on travel too, just to make sure it doesn't melt and leak with an organic product. Great point.
Definitely. Okay, and Colleen asked, she recently heard the word greenwashing. Does anyone know what that means?
Yeah. I
Go
can
for
give
it.
you a big example of that being the word recyclables.
Yes.
Basically, it's saying that you're helping the environment, but really not. I mean, that would be what I would say greenwashing would be. For instance, a lot of conglomerates are buying up a lot of natural product companies to say that they are all natural, non-toxic. So they have one brand that fits that puzzle piece. For instance, BioClean was just recently taken over by, which is a great stain remover, very non-toxic laundry detergent, pretty mainstream, really made the mainstream. And they were just bought by a company called Carlyle Group, which is not a green company, but they brought this other brand on so that they could say, we do have, we are non-toxic. So that's my take on greenwashing.
Yeah.
Lauren, I don't.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, it's just making kind of those exaggerated or unsubstantiated claims that so many do. And it's tricky because there's no punishment in using the word natural. So you can call a food a natural product, natural food, but that's unsubstantiated. You can find something that's USDA certified organic. Okay, now we're talking. Now that's a substantiated claim. But the problem is so many of these words they use on the packaging just to get us consumers that it's not really true. Like natural by whose definition? So that's one of them. I completely agree with you on recyclable. The one that kills me a bit is bioplastics, actually. So I'm glad we can segue into this quickly because so many silverware sets or straws or plates right now say, oh, it's bioplastic, it's made with cornstarch. Well, talking to some of the product engineers, I've learned that that's essentially just using a natural ingredient to still make a plastic polymer. And those aren't biodegradable or compostable. What we need to do as consumers is ask, is that curbside compostable? 9 times out of 10, I assure you, the answer is no, which means it can only be composted truly in a high-grade industrial facility, which, by the way, most of our cities don't have. So I think that's a great example of greenwashing, is all these great products that, frankly, when they first came out, I was excited. I loved to think I was using compostable silverware at my backyard barbecue. It's just as bad as plastic unless you personally are taking it to a high-grade industrial composting facility. So those are just some examples of what hard questions to ask and what we as consumers, the digging, frankly, that unfortunately is left on our shoulders to do to truly be responsible in those choices.
Thank you. That's a great. Yeah, I'm sorry, Katrina.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say it's done. Everyone does it. I mean, a lot of big companies do it. We in San Diego, we have a place called I Love a Clean San Diego. Their big sponsor is Coca-Cola.
Right.
Again, it's greenwashing. And it's just to make the consumers think that they're doing something, like Lauren said, and they're not. I mean, of course,
don't get me wrong, picking up trash on the beach and cleaning it up and, trash cleanups are wonderful. But at the same time, the greenwashing helps these big corporations continue to do what they want to do.
Perfect.
said.
And I guess that kind of ties into our last question from Cassandra. Where can we get statistics for plastics, use waste, and in travel? And also, where do you find your information? I know you have to do a lot of digging yourself, but what resources do you use that you can trust and learn more and not just get all caught up in the greenwashing?
That's a good one. That's a great question. I'll share that I found a lot of amazing stats on National Geographic. So Nat Geo has some amazing articles about plastic with kind of up-to-date and relevant stats. There's a lot of amazing kind of recycling101.org and other recycling center places that you can subscribe to national newsletters and things like that. The tricky part about recycling is it's so tailored to your city and what your city can and cannot do. It's so difficult to generalize nationally. I also subscribe, I like to read the Guardian news in the morning, and I sign up for their environment specific version of their newsletter. So I would say, whatever you might read in kind of your daily inbox, chances are they may have kind of an eco newsletter. So can you go in and check your subscriber preferences and get a couple of those? But I'd love to hear if Katrina has any good ones too.
I really like Tree Hugger. The Tree Hugger newsletter is it's chock full of information. But I have, in our customer base are like what you would imagine coming into a refill shop, our teachers, our scientists, our people who are already in the environmental field. And so really we are a community business, and we have just people just come and talk. They just tell you what they know. We talk about it. We listen, we follow the news, or I follow the news. And then I say, I talk to my customers and see what they've heard. And we keep talking. I'm part of in San Diego, and I believe in other states, there's a zero waste symposium. It's called Zero Waste San Diego. If you really need to get your geek on, you can go visit the Zero Waste San Diego and listen to the waste management people talk about how awful packaging is and all the statistics that you can possibly want in detail. But that's where I get most of my information from. I do a lot of gut checking to make sure that what I'm reading is true. That's what I do.
Great. Maybe we can pull together some links and information and send to everyone who attended today.
That's a good idea.
And then we have Marjeline. In Ecuador, they are offering bioplastic bags in supermarkets. Plastic is plastic, so it is fake, in my opinion. What is your opinion? Does that go back to what bioplastic is made from? Something that is natural but still is hard to decompose?
From the kind of academics that I've talked to about it, it is taking a natural ingredient like a cornstarch or a sugar and still creating essentially a plastic. I think again, the output can be that they can be compostable, but again, only in those maybe high grade industrial facilities. So again, I think, I understand her sentiment that feels a bit fake, because it's saying, oh, I can just throw this in the trash and it's biodegradable or it's compostable or it's not as bad. Well, it's just the same as any other plastic bag in that regard. Yeah,
agreed.
Asking those facilities that have bioplastics, is there a return program here, and what are you doing with them? Are these actually getting, composted or recycled or repurposed somehow? So that would be maybe the next step on those bags.
Got it.
Yeah, that leads you to greenwashing, back to greenwashing. A lot of our grocery stores say they take back plastic bags or saran wrap or plastic packaging, but do they actually take that to that facility? And as Lauren said, there aren't that many facilities that can, that will take these bags back and recycle them. So what are they doing? Why do they have that there? And it's basically just to make you feel better, that you can dispose of your plastic bag and they'll take care of it. But most likely what they're doing is just wrapping it up and just putting it in the trash can. So it's better to definitely use a reusable bag, a reusable cloth bag. And if you have to if you have to get a plastic bag, reuse it over and over and over again. So there you go.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, does anyone else have any other questions? If not, we can I'll leave it to Jamie to conclude and wrap up.
All right. So I would just want to thank you all for coming, especially our panelists, Lauren and Katrina. You guys were amazing. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Also, a huge shout out to Tochi for being our moderator again. Tochi joined us a few months ago, and sadly, she's leaving us.
We will miss you and your organization.
I'll miss you guys too, but I'll be cheering on the sidelines.
Okay.
You'll join our upcoming events just as a attendee.
Definitely.
So I guess from there, I will say if you are interested in joining as a chapter leader along with me and Allie, there will be a link for the application in the email that comes after this event. So if you're interested in joining and helping us out, please fill out that form. As an event attendee, you'll also be registered for our newsletter to stay up to date on our future events. Our next event is going to be in October, hopefully surrounding regenerative farming, and will hopefully be an in-person event, our first in-person event since COVID. So hopefully that all works out. Our newsletter also includes roundups and resources for traveling more mindfully, like blog posts with tips and best practices. So check that out. Again, thank you for coming, and we look forward to seeing you at our next event.
Thanks, Jamie. And is there's any way we can include the links to Katrina and Lauren's websites?
So we will send out an email after the event, and
okay.
We'll have their information, their contact information, any discounts that they want to offer to their stores. So we can just kind of pile up whatever information into that email and send it out to everybody who signed up or attended.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And it seems like Marjolaine just said, Katrina, if there is news from the Zero Waste event in San Diego, we'd love to hear about it. So keep us posted.
All right.
Thank you.
Looks like we're all set. Thank you all for coming out.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
everyone.
Happy Plastic Free July.
Yes.
Take care.